Hey, good afternoon, Blues. Everton have managed to extend their unbeaten. Yay! We've managed to extend our unbeaten run to 9 games. It was never in doubt, was it? Let's face it. I called 1-1 from the start. Ryan was saying, "Yeah, we're going to get beat because of the manager of the month curse that comes with that kind of situation." Well done to David Moyes, of course. Thanks for joining me. If you're just joining me, lots of people still leaving Goodison. Hopefully, no one left early. Surely, anyone who left early, they just, I don't know how many times they're going to learn. But yeah, 90th minute goal from Jake O'Brien there to seal. I don't know. I don't want to say it feels like a victory. It feels like a draw, but it feels like a bloody good draw because I felt like we'd kind of lost the momentum in the game. But anyway, we've got lots to go through today. But thanks for joining me after the final whistle. Definitely, it was another one of these where I was preparing the script, starting to write the headlines. But at the end of the day, I sensed that we were going to get something from the game. And the longer it went on, then you start thinking, when is this goal going to come? And it did come. It came from Jake O'Brien. I was absolutely delighted with that finish, the header towards the end. And of course, it could have been more if Carlos hadn't have scuffed wide right at the death of the 94th minute. If you've just joined me, perhaps you've been to Goodison, we want your reaction, and we do want you to make sure that you're part of the show. We'll be going through the comments in a few minutes' time, and I hopefully will be joined by some members of the team who were at the game today. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but I'm here to bring you the show. So everything has a silver lining. And of course, Everton now do have a tough run, so it's vital to keep that unbeaten run going. Lots to pick through, and I really would love to hear from all of you. Yeah. And we will be going through some of the kind of key moments in the match. And then we'll also be taking comments. So you're in for, I would have thought, best part of 45 minutes to an hour now, where we're going to go through the match and we're going to react to it. So the big thing is, though, Everton have extended their unbeaten run to 9 games, following David Moyes' February Manager of the Month award. And now we're in good position to take the international break and maybe bring a few of those players back. Who knows who's going to be rejoining the squad? There was definitely some promise of some new players, players we haven't seen featured, like Chimiti, and of course Broja on the bench as well. So this is all good, and we do need numbers. While we are waiting for other members of the team, I'm going to go through how I saw the game. It was a kind of one of those games that ebbed and flowed. So you, at no point did either side have total control, but definitely from the first whistle, Everton set out their stall to go at West Ham, despite the fact that, you know, Everton haven't got that pressure now. They definitely went out to try and win the game. And quite early in the game, basically, West Ham had the first big chance, if you think about it, with the Branthwaite header that could have easily been an own goal because it was headed back towards his own goal. And it really brought out a great save from Pickford after just 12 minutes. Initially, it looked like Bowen had made contact, but the cross came in, and it was actually Branthwaite that made the contact, heading back towards his own goal. And it really did take a great start from England's number one. So as the game went on, Everton still were trying to find a breakthrough, attacking the Park end in the first half. Of course, mad scramble for tickets these days. So anyone who's in the ground was really excited to see Everton in such great form, but also with just 5 games left of the Goodison era, if you like. So it's kind of bittersweet. 20 minutes in, Decore has a great chance from Harrison's cross, but to be honest with you, it was really a bit of a half chance because he couldn't really make a good contact into that. And then shortly after, we see Gerard Bowen, who was just absolutely immense for West Ham, probably the best player on the pitch, in my opinion, if I'm trying to be neutral about this. which I'm not, of course, but Gerard Brown was absolutely sensational for West Ham throughout. They looked like they had a bit of confidence from their Arsenal win. If you've just joined me, maybe you come out of Goodison, Everton, obviously 1-1. But a big goal towards the end that's extended our unbeaten run. And do keep your comments coming in, lots of them already. Say hello to our regulars. Hi, Robert. Hi, Peter. Please keep your comments coming in. We're going to be going through them very shortly. And we'll also be crossing over to Goodison Park, where I believe Ryan and others will be joining me. It can be quite tricky outside of Goodison with the reception. It's almost impossible to get a text message, never mind make a call. So it might be not until they get back in the car that they join me. So just bear with me on that one. Going back to the first half, after that that shot from Bowen where he knocks it up, volleys it towards the goal, another great save from Pickford, but it was, sort of the sort of save that you expect him to make because of the height and and it being quite in the center of the goal. Still a great shot from Bowen, and that showed that West Ham were going to be giving us a good game today. Then we had from the right-hand side, again, Park End sort of attacking from the right-hand side, a shot from distance from O'Brien, which, to be honest, was a really good strike. So he must have had his shooting boots on, but it was saved. And, that it looked like it was going to head towards half-time, going in 0-0. But then just on 44 minutes, there was what I expected to be a big part of the game where Beto looks like in real time he gets fouled. I thought it's a definite penalty. He's had his foot taken away the first time I watched it. But then when you break it down with the VAR review, we're going to cross over to Ryan because he's coming. When you break it down with the VAR review, you can see it's definitely not a penalty. Ryan, can you hear us?
Hi, Steve. Sorry, you can't actually bring someone in with a minute if you're on a mobile device. The minute you try and set up and go in the backstage, it doesn't exist. You just get plonked straight in. So,
right, okay. And anyway, it's good that you can join us.
Yeah, I've just left Goodison Park.
It's a bloody good point. It could have been either way,
Steve.
I suppose.
It is a good point, Steve, because Sorry, mate, go on.
It could have gone either way, this one, couldn't it?
I don't think we deserved anything. I'm going to be a bit negative because I just didn't think we turned up. The atmosphere was flat. Goodison was flat. The players didn't get going. There was too many sloppy players. Decore looked like a player who hadn't ate and hadn't slept with the birth of his new baby. And there were just too many poor performances in there today, Steve. And it's not acceptable that Everton go in still fighting for their lives, looking to potentially finish above West Ham and also finish off Goodison's legacy, and they put in what I thought was a largely tepid, turgid, and kind of rancid performance from pretty much everyone in the team.
Yeah, it's interesting perspective because when you watch it it does feel slightly different, and I saw it in a slightly different way. I didn't think it was our best performance, but. What was it like at the end? Did people leave, or were people staying, and did they see the goal this time?
Yes, me and David stayed till the end. Dad left, I think. It's one of those. The atmosphere wasn't good. It felt quite defeated. Referee was making it difficult for us, and West Ham were making it difficult for us. West Ham thought they'd won, but never say never. And Jake O'Brien was ushered forward by. Jake O'Brien was ushered forward by. It was either David Moyes or his other centre backs, because the gentleman Warren, who I sit next to in the Park End, says O'Brien's been told to get forward. So, he offers that physical threat. Scored a lot of goals in France, and he snatched it late. But to be honest, it was that moment when the atmosphere kind of livened up. Before that, there wasn't a lot of Goodison Park was 99% full by the end of the game, but it did feel like it was going to peter out, in all honesty.
Did you think the refereeing was as bad as what Robert says here, disgraceful?
No, I thought he was all right. I don't think the penalty was a penalty necessarily. I was a bit shocked in real time. It almost looked like he tried to swivel and missed it and fell over. Beto, for me, had another poor game. That's the third on the row. Arguably, he's fallen off a cliff. That's why we're not winning the games. We haven't got anyone at the top end. It's very, very blunt. You can go into it, but I'd say Alcaraz, Lynch, they were all. I could name them and go into it in depth, but it was just a blunt front four. Sorry, what was the question again? Completely.
Sorry, just the refereeing, really, because I'll just set the record straight.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about it just before you came in. We were replaying the game, and I'd got to the 44th minute when the penalty gets given. The first time I see it, I thought that's a definite penalty, but
Yeah.
I thought his foot gets taken away, and it's 100% Stonewall penalty. Then when you break it down and you see it from two angles, it's absolutely not a penalty.
Yeah. Well, that's what VAR is for.
But I know what it's like when you're in the ground, because you don't have that clarity of mind. You get shown it, but you might not quite see it from depending on where you sat. You get moans and groans from all over, and you get people with that anxiety that they're passing on, and then you get the sense that maybe we've been hard done by, and referee gets called over. Now, if you're watching it and you're not on the ground, you can rationalize it. First of all, you haven't got the same level of stress, and you can rationalize it. And I looked at it, and it wasn't a penalty. It hurts me to say that, but it wasn't. The Man U one for me was. It was a soft one if you're looking at it from Man U. This one wasn't. And when you see it back on Match of the Day, anyone that thought it wasn't in the ground, we've not been hard done by there. It was a case of Beto kind of runs in. He kicks the ground, basically. It's probably typical of his performance. Last couple of games, he might have gone a little bit off boil. And I don't know whether the pressure's caught up to him or whether it's just one of those things. Strikers go through good and bad spells where they kind of everything falls for them. Everton now obviously have a very difficult spell of games. How important was it that we got that 9th game unbeaten? Do you think it makes a difference? Because we play Liverpool now. We also play Liverpool. We play Arsenal. We play City, Forest, and Chelsea. Not in that order. I think Forest is before. Sorry. So it's a difficult run of games. It's basically the December games pulled over. How important was it that we got the point?
Well, I'm annoyed that we didn't win because I thought West Ham were there for the taking. I mean, they didn't even play with a forward in that match, and we just let Jared Bowen do it whatever he wanted. We needed to be a lot more clever with dealing with him. I think Everton needed to get the win today because of the fixtures in April. And, the Brentford, the United, and the Wolves matches, up 4 draws on a row. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to be honest. I think there should have been a couple of wins in there, and we would be fine. Because you know what? In the next sort of block of fixtures, we'd take a draw in every match. Can we do 10 draws and finish it off? I think the clarity for me.
Some little reception issues there with cutting in and out, but we know how difficult it can be. We'll hopefully get more of Ryan in a minute, but he makes some points about Everton almost becoming draw specialists. You could argue that 2 defeats and a win and a draw would have been the same. So, points-wise, it's not fantastic. 2 defeats, 2 wins would have been more points, but being unbeaten means you're resilient. It gives you confidence, and that eventually will translate into wins. Ryan, can we see if your reception's better now? It just broke up a little bit. Still a bit poor. Keep your comments coming in. Make sure you like, subscribe. I think we're at well over 3,500 subscribers. Hundreds of you watching live. Everton today with the 5th to the last game at Goodison Park. Certainly the last one that we're going to play West Ham. So there's 4 left, and now we've got Arsenal, we've got City, we've got Ipswich, and we've got Southampton. So that's it. That's your lot. And then, I don't know, get the tissues out because Goodison will be gone, unfortunately. Ryan, we're just trying to bring you back in there.
Bear with me a second, Steve.
Not amazing signal. We can take you off audio for a second. So yeah, just to set the record straight, don't think it was a penalty. Well, in fact, it wasn't a penalty. Slight change, obviously, in the setup today. I know we've only got to half time, but Harrison was on the right. Did you think that made a difference, or was it worse?
No, Oh, it's a signal. I don't know what's going on. But it's 2025 and it just wants to go off. Listen, if a breakup, just continue without me. Can you
That's
hear me?
fine. We can come back to you in a minute if you want to get further outside.
It says five.
Um,
It says 5G. I'm miles away from Goodison, mate. I'm, I'm like on the East Lancs. I'm miles away.
okay.
I'm heading up to Manchester for work. I didn't like David Moyes today. I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it. Listen, we have to criticise as much as we give the praise. On the days we
Mm,
give the praise, we give the praise. Otherwise, it's insincere. It's not all flowery. I've got a lot of clarity after that performance about who I need to get rid of, and I'm under no illusions. I still need Decore to leave on a free. I still think Mikalenko needs bombing off because the guy's awful. Um, Loads of individual players that I just don't see having a future long term if we want to be better than the West Ham scrapping around in 15th or 16th in the league. But what he tried to do was he tried to put Mikalenko in midfield as a wing back. Jake O'Brien, arriving a bit more later at right back. Alcaraz tucked in the Ndiaye role, but it didn't work. We couldn't progress up the pitch. Decore was absolutely awful. Um, Alcaraz was coming into the midfield, which was far too congested. Mikalenko, when he gets it, he doesn't know what to do with it, and he was up against Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And then, in all honesty, Steve, the player who scored for us at the end, Jake O'Brien, he was our best player in the first half. He was the only one getting into good positions to get the ball into the box.
100%. He was the
Don't know if
best
you caught
player,
any of that.
wasn't he? Yeah, no. We got it all. He was the best player, and if
Yeah,
you add to the fact his goal, that good shot in the first half, and his defensive performance, overall, he was a great player today. Looked full of confidence. Looks good, even in that right hand side where you wouldn't have said that it's going to be bringing out the best in him. So we can go through some of these players on another stream because there's going to be debates that go on. I mean, Decore's had a pretty good run since Moyes came back. But you're right, you need to be thinking about the future, and it can't be an instant transition because we got rid of so many players. But I think Moyes will want to start putting his own stamp onto the side. This is not a David Moyes side. This is David Moyes squeezing the lemon out of a very, very poor side that...
I'll tell you what was a David Moyes side. That West Ham team.
Yeah.
And you think he'd know better. All West Ham are going to do in that game is try and soak up a bit of pressure, wait for us to switch off, play on our mistakes, and nick a goal, and then low block and try and run up the other end and score on the counter attack. Individually, we know what Souček's going to do. If you look at that goal, West Ham have only got Souček and Jared Bowen forward. There's no excuse for James Tarkowski to be 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards off him. For me, looking at that goal, I think it was really poor defending. And I think another criticism was under David Moyes. We're conceding too many goals again now. We're conceding every match. We're not able to keep a clean sheet. Yes, we're playing with more risk. But I didn't see that today. I actually just saw a very Sean Dyche style of performance where it was quite laboured, quite slow, lacking intensity. We were waiting for something to happen. The crowd are also waiting for something to happen. And at the end of the day, nothing really happened. And we robbed it from West Ham.
I think there's
people are going to
expectations.
disagree, and that's all right. But I think
I think expectations have gone up. They have gone up. I mean, I just sensed that the goal was coming from West Ham. They started the second. I went just before you came on. I went through the first half. Pickford made a good save on 61, but then that Souček goal was coming, wasn't it?
It was just what annoyed me, Steve.
There was pressure from West Ham at the time. You just knew that was going to be the part when they kind of turned the screw a bit at that point.
Look, we hadn't conceded the goal, but every single one of us in the ground could see. And I was saying to David, we're going to concede here. Lindstrom's on the side waiting to come on for 5 minutes. He did the same against Manchester United, where he didn't make the substitution, and we ended up conceding the goal. And he needed to just get the substitution on, and he did it today. Lindstrom sat on the side, twiddling his thumbs. He could have just gone the toilet and back the amount of time he was stood there. And, you've got West Ham building momentum, and the goal comes from a lack of intensity and a lack of pressure and just exhausted. I'm not being funny, but we've got players fasting. How can you play? How can you play in midfield against world-class players like Lucas Paqueta, and maybe not world-class, but Man City were going after him last summer. He's a very, very talented player. and Kudus with bags of energy, Bowen with who's like relentless, and then you've got players for us who are like starving and up all night. And I'm sorry, I can't use that as an excuse, really. In all honesty, I retract that, because I think it was collectively. I think it wasn't just Decore. I think it was loads of them. But the
I
goal,
mean,
she got a
Everton are not the
substitution
only
earlier.
side in the Premier League with players that fast and do Ramadan. So we can't cut. But we did see in previous
No,
seasons where we saw a drop in energy
Mohamed
levels.
Kudus.
Yeah, we saw energy levels. You mentioned the goal, the Souček goal. He tucks it into the far right-hand corner. Pickford's
Yeah.
got no chance because it's so well placed. But it all came from the Bowen run and the fact Everton were trying to win the ball up on the halfway line, and they weren't at the races at that point in the game. It was about 67 minutes in. Bowen, who was an absolute thorn in the side, he was man of the match for me today, if you try and think about it objectively. We just never stopped him, but he was also on a level of his own. But you would have thought, oh, if you stop Bowen, you stop West Ham, because he was just part of almost all of this, but we just didn't do it. Even after the goal, he nearly scored. It was another good run from him down the left-hand side. Probably you saw a really good shot of that in the Park end, where he comes down and then obviously he shoots. But that could have been 2-0.
It was few and far between the shots today. The match was boring at Goodison. It was like watching paint dry. We never looked like scoring, and West Ham scored because they stepped up slightly, and it had been coming, and we couldn't react and couldn't contain them. And I'm a bit gutted, that the Goodison Park has been so poor this year overall. The record there has just not been good enough for me.
I think that we've seen so many of these performances.
And look at where we are now.
We've seen many and many of these performances where I'm just going to put that up. But did you just this one's for everyone who's watching at the moment, several hundred of you. Did you think the game was as boring? It did sense that there was no atmosphere. But I would like to know if you thought it was as bad as Ryan's painting it as like watching paint dry. We've seen this under Dyche, where it's just like you could fall asleep literally and you won't miss any action. And the second half was the epitome of that for me. Everton were asleep for large periods, but did come alive at some point, but it was only with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, with 5 minutes to go, more like.
Chimiti has a shot on 83. There were bodies in the way. It was on target, though. Then there was just tons of pressure before the Jake O'Brien goal, wasn't there? And then, even after we'd scored, Alcaraz, he scuffs wide. Did you see that? Were you in the ground?
Yeah. I thought, I'd got up to celebrate. I thought that was in.
It did look, from a distance in the Park end, you would probably
have thought to score there.
And it's just these fine margins.
Was it miles away?
It was a little bit further than it probably looked, but it was a scuff shot. And on another day, it goes in off the post, and you're going wild at that point. But fine margins in many of the games. We've come off on losing ends of them in games gone by, and then today we've picked up a valuable point. But yeah, you're right. It was a bit lackluster at times from Everton, but maybe we've just come to expect a bit more from them, and it's all relative. So maybe we're playing at a better level, but we just expect more. Some comments come in. Lots of regulars here. We love having you back. You do make the show that it is. It's the community, it's the fans. We want you to have your say. We've got Ryan, who's been at the game. He's on, I think, the East Lancs Road, and his signal cuts in and out. But it's great to have his comments saying that Everton, it felt like paint drying at Goodison today. If you were at the game, I want to know how you felt about Goodison. Only 4 games to go now. 4 games. That's all that's left. But Everton do have very, very tough fixtures coming up. We have the RS on the 2nd of April. It's so close to the other derby because that one got moved, of course. That will be not fun, so get behind the sofa. And then obviously we've got Arsenal. That's at 12:30 on a Saturday. That one got moved.
Can't go to that.
Yeah.
I don't think I can go to that now because they changed it. It's a stupid time.
They just mess around with the fixtures all the time, don't they?
That'll be flat as a pancake. Arsenal just pass. And unless they get someone up front, it'll just be more of the same, attack versus defence, and us trying to run up the other end and score with Ndai and someone else. I just want to say, back onto this before you move on. The difference today compared to the games against Leicester and all that, we had the feeling against Leicester and Spurs that it was inevitable we were going to win. It just always felt like it. Same against Man U. It just felt like the goals were going to come. We were always going to score. We were out. I just didn't see that today, Steve. I think the crowd thought that as well. There wasn't that level of creativity. There wasn't the pace in the play. There was just too much missing to get that crowd going. It needed something to happen. It needed something to happen that was never coming.
I spoke about how the international break, I mean, some people don't like the international break, but maybe it's come at a good time. We can get a couple of players back. I don't know how far McNeil is away now, but when you see players on the bench coming on, it just gives us a bit more strength and depth. We have lacked creativity. I don't think Moyes has worked out the best way of playing everyone. Harrison does look better than he did. Lindstrom can be hit and miss for me. And I think Alcaraz is looking really good, but I don't think he really knows where to play all of these players in their best positions. So it can be quite difficult. For those who are wondering, well, Ryan, if you stay there, if possible, for those who are wondering what this all means, and I put the form table on here because it picks up right on that. All you need to do is look at the grey on that table. Drawn, won, drawn, drawn, drawn. We're the draw specialists right now. We were win specialists. We're the draw specialists. But we shouldn't really complain too much because we're miles away from Ipswich, who've dropped further down. They are so far away from Everton that we can't possibly go down, can we, Ryan, at 34 points to 17?
No, we're not going to get relegated now. We possibly finish 17th, though, if we don't book our ideas together, because you can't do well by just drawing every match. One win and one draw is the equivalent of 4 draws. You know, in some of those games, we've just thrown them away.
Yeah, spot on. That's the comment I made earlier. And we've got Man U, West Ham. Obviously, this draw keeps us slightly above them. But it could have been a chance to kind of gain a little bit on them because it seems like Everton, Spurs, West Ham and Man U are like having a mini league off between themselves as to who's the best big club, inverted commas, to try and scrape 14th or 13th. It's all a bit mad, really. But, I mean, the clubs at the top end of the season probably are looking at us lot going, you lot are just having like some sort of like mid-table, bottom of the second half of the table battle. Where do you think Everton are going to finish amongst those sides? Do you think 14th would be a good result? Do you think that we might actually end up slipping, or do you think we'll get 13th?
14th would be great if we could stay where we are. In all honesty, I'd be surprised if we don't finish 16th, just above Wolves. I just think a spade is a spade, and you look at the form. We won. Now we're drawn. And you look at the games we're going to play. We're probably going to lose. And then we'll end up Ipswich and Southampton. We should dispatch them. And we'll probably finish on around 42, 43 points. Get to the summer and move on. That's not what I want. It's been boring. We're not watching football for pleasure at the moment, really.
No, there has been games, and there was a sense from at least from the fellow Everton team, of more excitement ahead of kickoff. But then, you know, it gets into the game, and after Zed Cars has kind of died down, you've got same old, really, haven't you? You can't get too excited about the standard of football. We are where we are, and we need to make signings. We need more creativity. We need more, but you know, hindsight, you know, should have maybe brought in another striker, but we just didn't. And it is what it is. Chimiti came on, had a shot on target, forced. You know, we had that corner, and the goal kind of came from lots of pressure and the fact that Everton threw more bodies up there. But we will do better. And it's disappointing because 34 points could have easily been 40 at this point. And had that been the case, Everton would be pushing on the top half of the league. But as it stands, we're just in the thick of the middle there. So I'm going to remove the screenshot. But it's not all that bad because just 2 months ago, we were thinking, where are we getting the points from? How are we even going to go forward from here? We were under Dyche, and then Moyes has got manager of the match. We've got 9 games unbeaten. So we need to just kind of be kind of relatively happy with the fact that we're not in a relegation battle, but I think we now want more, and we've kind of got greedy as a result of wanting more. Lots of comments come.
Starved.
We have.
If you starve someone all day and then offer them a little square of chocolate, they're going to beg you for the rest of the bar. You know, we've been starved of anything good I've had a season ticket for 12 years. and I think we've had 2 good seasons. The first under Marco Silva was quite good. You could say the first under Ronald Koeman was quite good. 3 good seasons, and the first under Martinez. We haven't had a lot to enjoy. We deserve something, and I'm disappointed that Goodison Park has not been a good hunting ground this season, and that teams like West Ham, who are, to be honest, they are just overpaid big names who can't gel, turn up and they can just get away with a point, which is frustrating. But then you look at who we've got and you think Mikalenko is terrible, Decore is largely terrible, Lindstrom and Harrison are generally not very good, Beto's worse than he's good over the course of his career, and you go, well, fair enough, that's why we can't win all the games. We're doing well, we've got a decent defence, we chip in, we're competitive, but we're not going to steamroll teams consistently over a season unless we start getting your Ndiaye's back and players of a similar ilk.
I think we really needed guys.
I was bored. I was so bored watching that.
It's fine to be negative. The standard of football is mediocre most of the time. We've had a few good games. We've got ourselves out of trouble, but it's not really good enough. But
if Jake O'Brien wasn't playing right back, we wouldn't have got 2 points, because the centre half normally wouldn't get in the box like that.
No, and credit to him for doing that. Credit for Everton to put pressure on at the end, but why wait till the last 10 minutes to do that? Because we really lost our flow throughout that game. Just going to pull up some stats now from the game. Hopefully we can see this. It's a little bit small, but I'll run through them so that everyone can read them. So basically, possession-wise, we had a little bit more than we normally do, 54%, although it's meaningless because I've seen us win games where we've had 30% of the ball. 13 shots, 5 on target to West Ham's 9 and 4. So, there is some attacking threat there, but it's the quality of it all. Amongst that, you've got block shots that are on.
West Ham had too many opportunities, Steve. They had too many corners, too many chances. We gave them too much.
Yeah, we did give them space. We weren't biting at them, and maybe that's down to energy levels. And there shouldn't be any excuse because we're not playing. We're not playing twice a week. We have no other competitions, so we should be giving it our all. But maybe the heat's been taken off because the pressure's come off a little bit. It's quite funny before the game. Ryan said that Everton will get beat today because of the manager of the month thing. I said it was nailed on 1-1 for me. Just because when you see the draw, you just know that it's more likely to be a draw. And we did get there with a draw in the end, and it's probably about the fair result. But lots of people saying we should have won with that last minute. Well, not even last minute, last second goal. Opportunity from Carlos Alcaraz at the Gladys Street. It's begging for him to put it in. It's not an easy chance, but
yeah,
it's one where a striker puts that one in. Do you know how far?
Why is it not an easy chance? I mean, it's the other side of the pitch.
Well, it's the way it fell to him. He doesn't really have as much space as you think.
Time though.
He doesn't, and you look at it in slow mo. It's scuffed off, but I think it's the pressure as well, and it's a question of probably being the wrong person in the right place. If that's better, I'd like to think it goes in, but you just don't know. Keep your comments rolling in. We have lots of people coming out of Goodison, those on Queen's Drive, and obviously all around the city. Lots of other things going on in the world of Everton with the stadium move. Ryan does his regular updates on tickets, which has gone down really well with our Bramley Moore doc show, where we have a regular update on ticket releases and what's left. So do keep an eye on the channel throughout the week. And of course, we do have an international break now, but that doesn't mean that we've not got content. This gives us a great chance to look at other things that we've mentioned on the stream, like what players can stay at and so and so. Right, have you got any news on?
I'm going to next weekend.
Okay, great. So, that gives us an opportunity to pick up on how that went. I think it's more. I think the hot topic really is transport, from the kind of Bramley Moore point of view more than anything. which is a shame because it's taken the edge off it. But certainly the media are saying that the stadium's world class, and everyone's kind of picking up on the fact that the Grand Old Lady's going out, bowing out, and it's only a few more games left. And they were saying at halftime, 4.5 games left. Everyone's counting it down. It's sad, but it's the end of an era and the start of a new one. And one of the comments that was picked up that I felt during the game, I wanted to bring onto the stream, was this fact of the new stadium being potentially a colder atmosphere than from Goodison Park. But from what you've told me from this season, and also from my own experience, it's flat as a pancake most of the time. We don't get up for it unless it's the derby. We wave the flags around at the beginning, and everyone gets excited before the game. Then as soon as it kicks off, unless we're 2-0 up, nothing happens. And even when we were winning a few goals and all of that, it's only really the derby that has a roof-off atmosphere, I think.
What do you expect? We haven't won anything in years. We don't play a good style of football. Our neighbours are winning everything. Stupid kick-off times as well when they put them 12:30. We have to accept that we've been going a long, long time. There's people who've been going a lot longer than us who've suffered through the 90s with season tickets. So, and the noughties, the early noughties. So, there's me saying I got a season ticket in 2012. There's people who've suffered for a long time watching it, and they just can't get motivated to it. It doesn't mean they're not going to watch it because they'd be at home watching it. I think the fresh injection of new season ticket holders at Bramley Moor will help. They'll get put in down the other side. Most of them, based on my assessments, will be in the north stand near the away fans. So hopefully there can be some atmosphere there, down there. And, obviously the south standing. For me at the moment, the south standing with the rails, unless everyone stood up, it looks a bit awkward. So let's see how we get on next weekend at the test event. But
I don't think many people will be standing up during the test event, but I think that it will mirror the Gladys Street where everyone stands up even if there's a throw-in at the other end of the pitch. So
just knock it down. Goodison hasn't been good to us for many, many, many years. I'm not as hung up on it. I'm ready for Bramley Moor. If you offered me to play the next few games in Bramley Moor, I would. Doesn't do it for me anymore. The atmosphere's not good. Yes, it's beautiful, but it's cursed. We don't win anything.
It's reminiscent of the team. It's reflective of the team, rather. It's if the team were doing really well, we were playing brilliant football, attacking, beautiful, committed. Everything was going pretty well. I think that they would be a lot more behind it. I think you hit the nail on the head when you say that we've been watching rubbish, and we no one can get particularly excited during the game as a result. We've got nothing to play for most of the time. It's almost like we've got more to play for. There's more atmosphere when we've got a relegation battle. Because it's at that point, everyone's like, get your flags out, get on Goodison Road and all of that. God, can you imagine what the last game, even the penultimate game, might be like? TJ, you're a regular. Hi, TJ. He says, we need at least a winger in January. Now, if you think about the creativity, it's all going to come down and the flanks. And he says that Harrison and Linston shouldn't be there next season. Do you agree?
Yeah, because you've raised the standards with Ndiaye, and that's the level of player you need, and we probably need someone of that ilk. We need multiple players of that ilk. Where are we going as a club? Are we going to try and fight for Europe? In which case, this team isn't good enough.
Probably need a stepping stone season to get into the ground, but you just can't see it. I mean, you've seen it with Forest, that you can come from nowhere and suddenly do well. So I think
they took the PSR breach. They spent a load of money. They signed about 40 players. It was inevitable that some of them were going to come good. They took the breach in one season, and now they're reaping the rewards in the following season. The only difference is that we signed absolute awful footballers, and not only we were bad in the season we signed them, we were bad in the subsequent 5 seasons. They played the game, they got away with it and did well.
Enough about Forest, I suppose. Yeah, no, they've been really good value for their position, Forest, this season.
But Steve, it's like when you've got a number 9 who you know is going to score goals. The whole team's lifted. When we had Lukaku, you just knew you put chances on the plate for this guy. You're going to score goals. You're going to win a lot of games. You're going to play with fun. when it's Everton and you see Bato and it's bobbling off him and he's making everything a duel and he's taking too many touches and he's not popping it off early and then he's not taking the chances, it's frustrating. And on the back of scoring quite a lot of goals, it's disappointing. I think he's had his little
This
moment.
does happen against Brentford. It was almost unforgivable, but in other games, it just does happen, or it doesn't happen. I mean, the penalty against Man U should have been given. We should be 2 points from that. Then you suddenly go into this game with another win instead of a draw, and I feel like it's hard. I mean,
Can I just
we're
say,
pointing. We're looking at Beto,
Yeah.
going, he's no good. A few games ago, it was bloody sensational.
I'm not saying he's no good. He just didn't play well.
Mm.
The Decore and Bato didn't play well against Wolves. We were bloody awful. We didn't deserve anything. And today, in my opinion, I don't think we deserved anything either. Against Brentford, I think we should have won the match. We didn't necessarily deserve to win. You still got to take your chances. We should have won. And the United game, we were the better team for most of the match, and we should have won that. So you could argue that we'd have been better off winning United than Brentford and losing these two matches.
Yep,
Well,
I said that earlier. Yeah, I said that earlier, and I think the interesting thing now is, I mean, when we looked at the December fixtures, I remember sitting down with other members of the crew going, "Oh, we're not going to get any points here," and we did get some points. But what it is that next run of fixtures are almost bigger games, and at bigger games, not only do the crowd get up for it, I feel that the players are going to get up for it. Now, the next game's a derby
as well.
How important is it that the next game's a derby? Is that a good thing for Everton? No one wants a derby. I certainly don't want a derby at the moment, especially at their place. But the fact is, it's a derby. Maybe we'll take Everton 2 levels up on their mediocre attitude today.
Yeah, the derby. At best, we're going to get a draw there. Liverpool seem to be able to get you, and you low block them, and then they'll just try and get a penalty to bail them out when they can't get past the low block. And
I guess this is one of
they're winning the league on the basis of
they're winning the league because the standard of the league is lower, and because they're getting the rub of the green. But anyway, enough about them. It's just the fact that the next game is at Anfield.
The weak Premier League, and I think I've lost
you. Speak to Liverpool fans. There's plenty of them down south. And they tend to focus on the fact that everyone's got sour grapes with the league not being so strong and so many things. I actually think that the Liverpool side that didn't win the league, that finished a point behind City, was a better side. But that's just my own thoughts. The fact is, we've got to go there. We can, I wouldn't say spoil the party, but we can certainly get our performance levels up. And I think we've struggled with these games, this Wolves, West Ham, teams that are around us in the league, but also not threatened by relegation, albeit maybe Wolves still are. But with that kind of attitude that we've done our bit now, that just kind of comes through a little bit. That they've done their job.
Yeah.
We don't need to fight for every ball as if it's a cup final. That's now
They're
finished.
playing for their futures.
They should be. They should be playing for that and for Bramley Moore Dock. We don't know what's happening with the squad and how much of an overhaul, but it should be a really attractive proposition for players to come to Goodison Park under Moyes with a fresh start and a fresh stadium, beautiful stadium that's going to be used in the next European Championships as well. With absolutely no transport links. With absolutely no transport links. If you want to get there, you can also get there by ferry, I believe now. But the ferry's not convenient, so I don't know. We'll probably cover this one because we've got a 2-week gap now. It's a little bit more than 2 weeks. We've got the game against Liverpool, I believe, is on a Wednesday night. Is that right, Ryan? 2nd of April. But we're no fools. At least it's going to be on the 2nd, and we could go and just have our own little party there and take 4 points off them. You just never know with this Everton side.
The derby. I think in the derby, go and make it really horrible. Look at PSG, the way they controlled the midfield, and then they released the ball in behind Van Dijk and the donkey guy who plays next to him. Trent Alexander-Arnold, he can't defend either. So let's get it behind them. Ratman Robinson and all of them. Try and do it. I think they're overrated. They'll probably beat us 4-0. But, let's go and have a go at them. Make it horrible. Break a few legs, particularly Mohamed Salah's. And then it'll be a delightful To be honest, I'd take a 6-0 loss if Salah's leg was broken.
I don't know whether I should put that up on a quote, but the fact is, Salah's kind of the runaway Premier League player of the season, and there's no one else that's really near him. City are being awful. We can beat them surely in a couple of games' time at Goodison, or is it going to be another flat atmosphere because it's City and then they're not playing well?
Well, they'll all get players back. Arsenal will have players back. City will have players back. It'll be too little, too late. But do you remember when the league actually had high standards and you had your likes of Drogba, Thierry Henry, Rooney, iconic players who were just world class, and you feared playing Arsenal because you didn't want to play against
Gerrard,
Van Persie.
Shearer.
The league is crap. It's a crap Premier League. You've got a couple of decent players. Mohamed Salah, who's a penalty
he might be on his
merchant.
way, you know. He might be on his way. That might be it for him. As an Everton fan, I'd be very happy to say goodbye to him. It could be that Van Dijk leaves as well. Why are we talking about them? Why are we so obsessed with them?
They just get under your skin. They're just annoying, aren't they?
They are annoying, but they lost in midweek, I might add. And you know, it should never have gone to penalties, that game. It was suffrage. We nearly went live, actually, for those Blues probably who enjoyed that penalty shootout, although it was all nerve-wracking. Ryan and I suffered through both legs, and
it was a hate watch.
It was a nightmare. Yeah, it was a hate watch.
It was a hate watch.
James adds to that. He agrees with you. He said the league's piss poor. It is. It's absolutely atrocious. I think it's one of the worst Premier Leagues I've ever seen. But you can only beat what's in front of you. For Liverpool, that's not been much. The fact that Forest are third, all these big teams are down there. The strength is not there. Is it? Why is that the case? This could be a separate stream. Why is the league so poor? Is it just an opinion?
Possession means nothing. Possession means nothing. If you look at it, you saw it with Nottingham Forest. But if Everton could get two wingers with rapid pace and a number 9 who could score, they could sit everyone behind the ball like they often do, and then just launch it and run up the other end and score when other teams overcommit, which is basically what Nottingham Forest do. It's what Leicester did, and it's what teams do. You can play Arsenal. I've been watching Arsenal. They do your head in. They just pass it and 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 pass it, and they go nowhere with it. And then they pass it to Raheem Sterling, who was probably borderline picked in that England squad, given that Thomas Tuchel, who's not going to last 5 minutes because he's going to get someone sticking a bag over his head, because he can't pick the players. Someone's going to have to pick them for him. But Raheem Sterling, and that's the sort of player they're relying on. That shows how off a cliff the standard of the league is. It's a weak league. And I put it down to modern day tactics is all about playing with the ball, when actually sometimes you can play well without the ball. I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but there's only so much.
It's a good observation, and I don't. We can look at the stats and all you want, and a lot of people have this opinion, and there's a big debate about how poor the league is this season. But doesn't that mean that there's a big opportunity for Everton? If we can get our act together, we can be one of the better sides if we just make some small differences, small tweaks. 2 or 3 players, especially in the offensive side, could make a big difference to us, and we might be able to crack on, because taking the opportunity off the strength of the league right now, it isn't one where you've got nailed on teams for the top 8. Everyone pretty much is mediocre, and it's the best of a bad bunch. There's a lot of people who are also saying this, and Kevin is a regular. Hi, Kevin. And he's saying VAR shafted Everton this season. I'm sick of VAR, Ryan. It spoils it. Every time there's something happen, particularly a goal, you then have to work out whether you've celebrated too much and you've got egg on your face, and everyone's looking at each other, and the delays are too long. I'm just done with it.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about a different topic a moment ago that was quite interesting. I can't remember what you were saying.
We're talking about the standard of the league. Standard of the league.
Yeah, but then you made a different point that was really good. But on VAR...
just VAR shafting us, really.
There's something in between the two topics there that I thought was quite interesting. But the VAR one, it's just irritating, isn't it? When you can see that goal that O'Brien won in real time, is a perfectly good goal, you know, and we're probably going to go on to score again. Just even then they're checking it, and it's like, just bore off. It's all woke and weird. Let's try and look for a weird rule that we can make up to try and rule out the goal and make it all politically correct. No, just let us play and enjoy it. It wasn't meant to be like that. You're trying to strip the excitement and the fun out of football. You're making it boring. And
I think they should do the auto. They've got the AI technology. I think they should do auto offside, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's all they should. And goal line tech. Is it across the line or not? Everything else, just leave it to
there's no doubt in my mind that at some point AI will get very, very clever and start having like robot refs that can determine did he have the first contact? Did he initiate the contact? It'll be supercomputers that referee the games in the future.
Probably be in Japan.
So if you want to invest,
but yeah, I mean, it's just. Yeah, they're probably working on it right now. You actually wonder why we're so far behind the curve with something so simple. The offside thing, obviously, you know, they've got the lines drawn and you can generally see before the decision. But it still takes 2, 3, 4 minutes sometimes. And when you're in the ground, it's really painful. The length of delays are ridiculous. They're looking for reasons to rule out goals rather than give the benefit to the attacking team. It's spoiling football. It is what it is. Today, Everton came on the wrong side of a VAR decision, but perhaps it was a clear and obvious error from the referee this time. Last time, it definitely wasn't a clear and obvious error against Manchester United. Listen, right, we're just kind of going to start wrapping up now, but obviously Everton today, extending their unbeaten run, we're very kind of cynical in our assessment of the performance. A lot of people pulling us back and saying, you know, can we be a bit more positive? But reality is we've drawn 4 games. We had opportunities to win. We've had opportunities to take. We want the very best, nil satis nis optimum, and we deserve it as well. 4 games to go at Goodison.
Yeah.
Have you got any closing remarks from today's performance and anything you want to say about the content that we're going to be putting forward in the next couple of weeks with there's an international gap?
I can't promise anything, but I'm hoping we'll have something on the new stadium from the second test event, and we can have a look ahead to what's going on. I'll see if the season ticket sales as well. Can have a look at that. A couple of people bumped into me today. One of them shouting me as I'm walking down Goodison Road, Ryan. I'm like, who's calling me? I turn around. Hello, Ryan. I watch you on YouTube. I'm Mike. So hello to Mike if you're watching this. And another lady who I was at the queue for in the box office reprinting some tickets off. And the woman behind me, I know you. Oh, great. My husband watches you. So shout out to Peter as well. Your wife was speaking to me before, so we're getting bigger. I may have to soon cover my face and wear a hat to not get spotted. Not the type of fame that I wanted growing up. Anyway, in terms of the closing statement on this match, listen, I don't think David Moyes got it right today with the team selection, but I also can see both sides. I don't think there's a compelling argument to play Lindstrom. There's just not enough goals or assists. He's probably thinking Doucouré is going to give me a bit more, but it just didn't work. I think ultimately we weren't that good in this match. West Ham stepped up in the second half, got the goal they deserved, but I think with an never say die attitude, sort of the standards that David Moyes has set is that you're not losing, you're not going out on a whimper, and to get the equaliser and to get another point on a game we possibly didn't deserve much from, I'm happy with. So I just hope the season doesn't peter out. I hope we can get some positive results against some of these other teams as well, and try and just finish. Every place is worth a couple of million, and it will certainly help.
Thanks, Ryan. And obviously the next couple of games, I mean, there's so few games now, but Arsenal and City are big games at home, and then obviously we have Ipswich and Southampton, arguably smaller games, but there will be big games because of the kind of end of tenure at Goodison and all of that. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us despite the challenges of being on the motorway and trying to make a getaway towards work. That's Ryan, who's come out of Goodison Park. And for all you watching, whether it's now or on Sunday afternoon, thank you for joining me and for all your comments are coming through. We do really appreciate your support on Follow Everton. As I said, I was preparing the script for another, well, it's not been for a while, but an Everton defeat It was another draw, which means Everton have gone 9 games unbeaten, remain in 14th position, remain ahead of West Ham United and Manchester United, perhaps with a game difference to play. But still, it's onwards and upwards, and we go into the next game, which is a nice, easy one at Anfield on the 2nd of April. And from me, from Ryan, from everyone at Follow Everton, I'd like to say have a very good evening.